Hello neighbour ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking. And today, as you can see, I've got a nice, very nice actually, replica of the sword of Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII. Well, actually, to be more precise, this is not from Final Fantasy VII, this is from Kingdom Hearts, as you will have appreciated if you are fans of the series, but still, it is still the sword that Cloud Strife swings. Now, I've noticed, as I think that most of you who are gamers out there, you will have appreciated the fact that they are remaking Final Fantasy VII, and that, you know, for PS4 and then probably other platforms as well. Hopefully also PC. And you know, that was one of my favourite Final Fantasy, probably not my favourite, but one of my favourite Final Fantasy, and I've been playing through them, and I'm really happy. I was really looking forward to that. So as a fan of the series, I have to say that I'm very happy with that. And I thought that this could be a perfect time, good timing, for speaking and reviewing this beauty here. The sword of Cloud Strife. So let's begin. Right, now the first thing obviously that we have to say is that although we are trying to be as historically accurate as possible, this is, at the end of the day, a fantasy sword. So we do need to consider that probably in any possible given situation, I would definitely use a smaller sword, but let's just put ourselves in a bit of a special situation where this is the only kind of weapon that you can use, and so we need to kind of try to see the pros and cons, advantages and actual real situations. Well, the first thing obviously that strikes the eye is how big it is. This is massive. I mean, look at this. Now obviously the replica that I have here, which by the way was given to me for the purposes of this video by my really good friend Valerio, this gentleman over here. Hi there. I would like to extend my thanks to this very good friend of mine. He actually has a video game shop and he sells online, and he also has a nice nice YouTube channel where he shows a few things. Unfortunately, most of the videos he makes are in Italian, but if you do understand Italian and want to have a look, please go check his channel. So, as I was saying, this sword, the first problem will be it's really big, and of course this is not made of metal, but if it was made of metal, it would have been incredibly heavy. I mean, look at the thickness of this beast. Of course, the replica here, one possible accurate thing is the fact that probably the cutting part would have been smaller, because that's, you know, would be sharp, and this part would not be sharp. That's one of the reasons why Cloud Strife keeps it like this all the time. However, we do need to consider that so this would actually make it more like a saber or a katana in the way you use it. You most of the times wouldn't really hit with the back of the sword, and most of the times you would cut with the edge. Okay, so I would imagine that if I had to choose a stance for this, I would probably go for this stance. The reason being that I can actually, since this part doesn't cut, I can actually use my shoulder to hold on the sword and kind of get rid of some of the weight, at least while holding this. Whereas this kind of stance, or this kind of stance, would be incredibly, it's already heavy now and it's not metal. Probably I wouldn't even be able to keep it this way. Another possibility would be the back stance, the back stance like in kendo, but again, too heavy, so probably wouldn't be able to swing it. So I think the only possible, I mean, Cloud Strife holds it in front, but probably, unless you have incredible muscles, that wouldn't be a good idea. So again, this kind of stance would probably be more reasonable. All right? Now, again, the thickness of the blade is outrageous. Probably this is too big, so probably we would have to, I mean, there were big swords, but they would have some kind of degree of distal taper. They did have these holes, one here and one here. I don't know if you can see, there's another one here. It does have two holes that I think have the purpose of decreasing a bit of the weight, but still, this would not be enough. you would actually have to remove part of the metal from all this part here, which you don't even need anyways, in order to make it more resistant and lighter as much as you can. Then the hilt. Now this again is massive. It would probably debalance the sword and it would give a lot of problems here. Also talking about, and also it's not really protecting me much because it has the same thickness of the blade, which of course doesn't happen very often in history. Occasionally it does, but most of the times, particularly with medieval swords, it wouldn't really happen much. So again, this is not really something. What I would do, I would decrease a bit the thickness of the blade and increase a little bit the hilt, so make it actually closer to probably something like a Zweihander or maybe even a claymore, just changing it a bit. Yeah, I think that would be much more effective as a weapon, but again, this is fantasy, so we'll just be okay with that. Now, in order to balance the sword, something like this, in order to be balanced, it would have to have some counterweight over here. Otherwise, it would just be like a huge, kind of a huge piece of metal that you would just cleave onto people. Not really, kind of closer to an axe, but not even that, because it's all full metal, so you just wouldn't be able, it wouldn't be practical. You would be so slow wielding this that all damage you would actually do, the damage would actually deal with something like this wouldn't be much. Because in order to really damage someone and cut efficiently, you need speed. With no speed, it's something like this, like people often think that the heavier, really heavy sword make you slow, but if you hit, you will destroy the opponent, but that's not really the way physics works. And I've already talked about this in another video called 200 swords were not heavy. If you haven't checked that video, please check it out. There is a little bit of physics there. So again, counterbalance. So I would need something quite heavy here to try and counterbalance it, and I would make the actual, and this part here should be thicker, trying to grab it probably with leather, possibly trying to make in order to facilitate gripping. So after all, as a sword, I have to say the looks are great. This sword is like massive. It looks really good. But unless there is some kind of magic or technology that makes it work for some whatever reason, as a normal sword, this one just wouldn't really work. Okay, maybe if you really have a huge, gigantic man, he could potentially wield one of these. But again, to what purpose? So again, for the fan of the series though, I do have to say that the sword really looks good. So again, with some kind of magic or technology, it could perhaps make sense. Also, probably, so even techniques, considering it only cuts from this side, would be kind of similar to Kendo and Kenjutsu, where you use this part to cut. But again, look at this, and this is not metal, and look how slow I am. I actually have to use my body into it to move it faster. If I only use my hands, it takes forever. And recovering from a hit like this, if it was metal, would be something like this. So even if I try to stab, and if it was metal, this would probably be basically impossible. So again, a bit thinner here. Kind of a thinner hilt because this is too thick, and a little bit of a bigger handle would make it a nice and beautifully looking Zweihander. Well, let me know what you think about it, which Final Fantasy is your favorite, and if you want me to evaluate Gunblade or other kinds of fantasy weapons from those video games. Thank you very much for watching as always, and remember, the Metatron has spread his wings.